Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for making the time to join us in the third part of our four-part series on the physical formula for power. As we know, the physical aspect is only the beginning for us, and we quickly transition into other aspects. Last week, we dealt with mechanical conditioning, which turned into the inspiration for us to start a mechanical conditioning camp that many of us have participated in all week, starting last week, Wednesday. Actually, it was Thursday, wasn't it? Because instructor Northleg instructed us to have an extra day. So it was last week, Wednesday, we began. And in fact, last week, Thursday, I'm sorry. And tomorrow will be our seventh day. We have taken the time to, on purpose, visit each of the 7 main chakras, starting with the root and moving our way up. Today, we dealt in the first eye, or the third eye, or the 6th chakra. And tomorrow, we will spend some time with the crown. So those of us that have communicated, it seems to be a consensus that it has been a benefit to us all. We have all dug deeper into our gateway meditational stance, which is embracing the tree, and dug deep into the benefits and power that lies within, and allowing us access to court power with the intention of elevating our state of mind and being, earning our God and Goddess statuses. So with that being said, does anybody care to share a quick recap of some of the things that were brought out in last week's class? Okay.
I don't want to be selfish.
if you got something, give it, brother. Don't worry about it. Come on.
Okay. No, it's been truly a blessing, man, to just once again get to know that inner self, which is really a great part of
You have to unmute that device. Oh, look like he hung himself up. Anybody else want to step in until he?
I'm good.
Reconnects.
I was gonna say we talked about.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh,
he's back.
Okay, yeah. And so going back, not only revisiting the inner self with the touching base with those chakras and just getting to know them, also working the flesh in terms of maintaining that posture is all a part of our God selves and our expression, man. And so it was just a beautiful way of getting in contact with our higher selves, man. And yeah, so that's definitely what I got from it. So good thing.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody have specifics? Come on, Aaron. Specific notes or takeaways from the lecture.
We talked about tempering of the physical weapon, which is contact conditioning, strengthening and stretching. And with the contact conditioning was working with the hands, the fingers, the knuckles, elbows, knees, the palms, feet, heels, and the balls of the feet. And then the conditioning aids, which are the barrels, and the barrels filled with the rice and the sand, rubber guts, and the marquard, and strengthening, weightlifting, calisthenics, stretching, and yoga and Pilates, and conditioning, programming of the earth suit, which is floor practice, exchange, and kumite. And with the floor practice was repetitions of the thousands of strikes and expressions through the short and medium blows.
Okay.
And I have a lot more, but that's just some of them.
Very good. Thank you very much. So that you centered around the martial aspects, the physical.
Teacher pet.
Pardon me.
She sounds like a teacher pet to me.
Ah, it
Oh.
sounds like a good student, a studious individual. So that's centered around the physical, physical combat martial application. Can anybody talk to us about some of the metaphysical aspects in brief?
In regards to the meditation experience.
No, specific to notes from the lecture.
Okay, my bad. I'm thinking we're talking about we doing reflection kind of.
We did.
No reflection. Reflection to have us go too long. Come on, Aisha. You know what? I listened to you in the last class. You had outstanding notes. Come on, close the show for me again, sis, please.
We went through talking about the 12 primary key rivers when we was going over the like some of the things from the book, and we talked about the 8 different vessels.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
We went through that, and we were talking about electromagnetic forces, how there's like four fundamental forces, and like we talked about like electromagnetism, like in the body and the forces around us and things like that. And we went over the book a lot. Like the book, we broke a lot of that down, and how like some of that is like very transformative from body to mind and spiritual.
Thank you so much. And that was what really anchored and we founded our meditative practices on this week. And so that is the most important part, because we want to continue to make sure that we are focused on the fact that we are starting in the physical space, this 3D, 4D construct, but yet we know we are far more than that, and that we are beyond the physical only. So with that, those that are new to us, and just for clarity's sake and making sure that the record reflects, I am an instructor, Aku. I am one of 5 instructors in the 36th Chamber, University of Martial Arts and Sciences. And so we focus, our philosophical tenets are based around martiality, around science, and, the metaphysical space. So to jump right in and start ourselves in the martial space, I took some time, and with everything, as soon as we get started in preparing for a class like this, you realize and see just how deep it can get, how fast it can get there, and how many so-called rabbit holes we can jump down. And so it becomes exhaustive. One other thing, we made a omission. We intended, or we talked about making class starting or setting this class up to start at 8 o'clock because of the amount of information that we cover and the time that it requires. Next week's class will start at 8 p.m. We'll be sure to give reminders. Folks have to go to work. We got children to get in the bed, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to put that footnote out there. So in saying that, to say I took some time, and I want to we must keep it as basic as possible. And knowing that we put this information on the internet, you can lose yourself, and there are many experts. I won't say it negatively. There are many experts in many subjects. So it's not hard to pick apart or expound upon any one thing that any person may post on the internet. So just another disclaimer. With that being said, the definition of martial, also footnote as a citation. I just simply use Google search bar to source definitions, and I use the site called Etym Online, ETYM Online, as in short for etymology, or the study of the source of root of words. And if anybody spent any considerable time in a dictionary, you know that the dictionary is very expansive. And once you get back to the root of these words and source them back to Latin and Old English and Middle English and Germanic roots, etc., or beyond, ideally we can get back to indigenous language such as Sanskrit and other things. But the moment you get past the veil, the rooms, they always unfold, and the preponderance of information can be overwhelming. So citations are Google and a website called Etym Online, ETYM Online. That being said, the definition of martial, of or appropriate to war, warlike, and in medieval Latin, it was directly tied to Mars, as Mars being the planet governing war. So instantly we could jump down the rabbit hole of astrology, but that's not for today's talk. When you think of martiality, when we talk about martial arts, it's about weaponizing the body. It's conditioning and training the body as a weapon. And we use obviously we use our hands, our elbows, our knees, our feet, shoulders, even your head. So we've done this, and we talked about this at length on how we temper the weapons, the types of blows we can form, etc. Then when we look at science, what is science? Science is intellectual. Oh, mind you, I foreshortened this definition and chose to pull out the most key words. And all that we'll look at, I focused here on what aspects of the definitions apply to the physical martial space. So science, intellectual and practical activity of the systematic study of either the structure of a thing or the behavior. And you're doing this through observation and experiment. Obviously, we can study things that are physical or natural, man-made, and then we can jump right back out there and jump into the vastness of those things that are beyond man's construct. And we get into the things that the Creator, the Most High, Spirit, whichever you choose, has ordained. And immediately we can study a blade of grass and write volumes on the things that it does with, photosynthesis, etc. And then lastly, in keeping us present to our concentration on the metaphysical aspect of things, we dealt with that prefix meta that attaches to the word physical, in that it's a change in position or condition. And then we like the fact that it's denoting something of a higher or second order or kind, meaning its next level is beyond. So metaphysical is simply moving beyond the physical only, as we are clear this is limited. So with that being said, let me also be clear, I apologize. Today's center of discussion is directional flow, direction of flow. So the 4 principles of the physical formula of power are: number 1, point of balance; number 2, mechanical conditioning; number 3, directional flow, direction of flow; and then 4, next week, will be point of contact. So for clarity, today's lecture is centered around the direction of flow. When we, again, apply it to the martial space, we're talking about how our weapons are delivered and the direction of weaponry or blows or strikes. Incidentally, I was interested to find out how blow and strike were defined, to find out what the difference was. And in just a little bit of investigation, when you look at the word strike, it's of Middle English, they say, of the 14th century, and it means to deal a blow. So naturally, if I can't strike unless I deal a blow, then what does a blow mean? And so there's some speculation according to the dictionary, what I looked at, and it's perhaps of Middle Dutch, of the Eastern or Midland dialects. Previous word was bowin, or to beat, or to sling, from Old English sling, moving us into slay, as in to take life or kill, which makes it befitting when we look again at martial being of or appropriate to war or warlike. So naturally, we find ourselves in a state of war or warlike conditions, then blood and death come with it. inextricably linked to it. So to slay, to throw a blow. Now, going further in the definitions provided, I really enjoyed the blow being defined as to move air or produce a current of air. To move air or produce a current of air. And we all know, those of us that are actively practicing, we know that when we deliver a strike properly, we get the geese to snapping, you get the candles to going out, and it moves in such a way that clearly you move the air, and the results thereof are tangible and felt. So I really enjoyed that definition. Saying that to say this, that our Grand Master has taught us that combat is nothing more than a series of movement. Combat is nothing more than a series of movement. And we have an axiom that states that to master movement is to master life. All is in motion, subtly or not so subtly, physically, mentally, spiritually, all is in motion. So back to martial application. The martial application is a series of strikes, blows, sweeps, or throws. It can be essentially coupled in series of strikes and blows, sweeps and throws. Again, just purely dealing with the physical application. And then in the directional flow, we have essentially, it boils down to two types of directions. It's either a straight or two types of blows, rather. It's either a straight blow or it's a circular blow. And everything, the myriad of our arsenal, is still rested upon those two options. It's either going to be straight or it's going to be a circular, be it a full circle or piece of a circle, a spiral. So in pondering on that, I looked at what defines straight blow versus circular blow. So I would hope that many of us can remember when we had, I can't remember what class it was, but you had graphing paper, and you had the x-axis and the y-axis, and as you moved up the line, you got into the z-axis, which could transcend both those planes. So we were using the 2D paper in an attempt to convey the 3D construct of reality, that you have an X, a Y, and then you have a Z, that which moves on an angle, or the three axes. A straight line is but 180 degrees. And then we are aware that we have obviously angles within that range. So there it may be a right angle, which is 90 degrees, something less than a right angle, which makes it an acute angle, or something more than 90 degrees, which makes it an obtuse angle. But at the end of the day, it's moving on an X, a Y, a Z, and it has a particular angle. Now, once we look at the circle, once you look at the circle on the 2D plane, you have 360-degree range of potential. But what happens when you take that 360 and then you multiply it by 360, meaning that one on the 2D plane, but then you take and you build the 360 on all X, Y, and Z at the same time. So my mind took me down that path some years ago. And when you take 360 times 360, you get 129,600 degrees. 129,600 degrees when you take that 360 inside that 360. And then you can set any number of angles inside of that construct, and now we have something that is beyond my purview and calculation. But therein lies the full range of motion in a combat scenario, which ties itself to our first class where we talked about control of center being more apropos in discussing or describing point of what's the first one, y'all? Point of balance. We talked about control of center being more appropriate when we talk about the point of balance. Are you tracking with me? Is this making sense? I did get, my instructors are constantly squeezing us. They give you an assignment and then they drop a seed on you. So one of my instructors dropped a seed on me yesterday and said, I had somebody on the call and they said they couldn't understand some of your language. You need to fix that. And all I can say was, yes, sir. So with that being said, are there any questions thus far? I don't know if it's good or bad when there's no questions. Either y'all bored or you really want me to believe I'm making it make that much sense.
No
I'm
questions.
in note taking mode, but I'm good. I'm just taking notes.
Definitely not bored.
No question.
Okay, thank you. All right. So again, as we continue to drill down combat only, martial only, and we deal in the straight or we deal in the circular, we have options.
question.
So, pardon me?
I got a question, instructor.
Yes, sir.
I like or I can appreciate the idea of 360 times 360 equaling 129,600 degrees of potential. Can you just give me just one example of coming outside the 360, even if it's 361 or just, just one example of what that could be.
So the Mother Earth we sit on,
Mm-hmm.
all of the celestial bodies in our solar system, the power that's found in the ball, the sphere that will roll across the floor, that will set sail in motion, and until it runs into an obstacle, it will keep moving if it has the right conditions. The beauty in the belly, that portion of that 360 that you, that 360 by 360 that you see form, sticking out of that woman before that seed arrives. So those are what come to mind in stepping outside of the 360.
All right, understood.
Does that satiate your question?
Yes, sir.
Interest? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great question. Thank you. Again, and let's go back to the martial aspect. We're talking about kicking and punching right now. We're talking about straight lines in delivery of our weaponry. But once you get beyond that, well, let's say this. Let me be clear about this. We are only powerful in one direction at a time. Physically speaking, we are, I want to be careful. I don't want to say only, but yeah, essentially you are, but
maximally powerful in one direction.
Okay, thank you. Better stated. Maximally powerful in one direction at a given moment. So when I bring this blow directly straight here, I'm powerful straight in this direction. So it would be not advantageous for you to resist me in this direction head on. But I'm not maximally powerful in this direction and this one at the same time. So if I want to be powerful and this goes, this goes back to our X, Y, and Z axis. So we'll call directly at you, we'll call this X, directly at you. I'm powerful in this direction. This would be Y. I'm not powerful in this direction. And then, well, no, this would be Y, excuse me, and Z would be at another angle. Point is, I'm powerful here, maximally powerful here. I have to become maximally powerful here if I want to resist you up. I have to become maximally powerful down if I want to resist you down. And then the same applies to the side to side. So because that is fact, that's scientifically founded, that's fact, that irrefutable truth, then it plays directly into our combat application. It plays into our movement, the maneuver, and it plays into, how can I say it, better stated? Yeah, it plays into your movement, it plays into your approach. And when you couple this scientific truth with the power of an arc or an angle, then we're able to effectively neutralize a blow in any particular direction, with the understanding that it's only maximally powerful in one direction at a time. And so herein, we instantly transition into the metaphysical space where you have the yin and the yang, but every one thing of dominance or seemingly dominance, there's a countermeasure to it. So this is the interplay of combat, and that's the interplay of life. That's the interplay of energy. Example being, we use the combat application to help us to illustrate and analyze how we assess other aspects of our life. So I do have a question: is, how do we interact? I'll save my question. I'll bring the question back. Let me keep moving. So that being said, clarity of where our power lies in one direction at a time. Angles can provide an advantage or a detriment. An advantage or a detriment. We say, we have a little catchy phrase that sometimes you zig when you should have zagged, because you can angle in at the wrong way at the wrong time and walk directly into the power band. But ideally, you maneuver according to what's being delivered to you. And then one other piece, how we apply the discipline physically, either we apply it directly or indirectly. So we can exert direct attention in one place, or we can be indirect and be more subtle in allowing an opponent to deliver a blow in our direction with full intention of what and how, understanding what and how they can affect you and how they cannot affect you, luring them over their point of balance, enticing them to make a move that works to your favor. So whether we are direct or indirect, and sometimes we just inadvertent, with no given purpose. So that is not what we want to do. We always want to move on purpose, not with a plan, not with a pre-thought conceived notion, but according to what the conditions dictate. Another piece that jumped out at me is that our motion is largely influenced by environment. Our motions are largely influenced by our environment. And our Grandmaster has taught us that we basically have three sorts of environment. Again, this is combat, physical environment for combat. And it's either a friendly environment that does not require you to move martially, or it's a hostile environment in which it's in your best interest to utilize martiality. And then you have these mixed environments. So again, in my mind, it makes it clear for us to see how this interplays with your life in reality. Many of us are employed or self-employed or have a job or a career when we used to go to work or go out the house to go to work. But shit, even at home, you could have a mixed environment. You can have a hostile environment at home. You can have a friendly environment at home. You can have a combination of the two. And obviously the same happens out in the world. Questions, comments, concerns? Can anybody give me an example of how, metaphysically speaking, how do you approach given situations, in the world? An example of when you would use a direct approach or when you would use an indirect approach to deal with a given situation in the virtual dojo we call life. Anybody, any of the student body have an example where you utilized the directional flow in life? Go ahead, Topher.
I would say doing security, when I have to be direct with people, it would be when they're being an obvious, nuisance and they're going to have to get kicked out. And I got to say to them straight, you got to stop what you're doing or else you're going to have to get kicked out. And these are the people that have had to be pulled out. But with indirect approaches, it's people that like I've seen some dudes try to hit on girls and they're not getting that. He's making them uncomfortable. And so I would, step in and start talking to the gentleman, and let him know I'm just here to talk to you. I'm not trying to make you, feel bad or anything. I wouldn't say that I'm talking to you because you're making the ladies feel uncomfortable. I just talk to him. I just say you look like an interesting person, but that would change his demeanor. He wouldn't feel bad about himself. You get that little, boost of dopamine, whatever. But that's how I would, get someone to stop, bothering people without being straight up and making them feel bad. Hey, you're bothering them. Stop what you're doing. But when someone's being an obvious nuisance, that's when I'm more direct with it.
Excellent, excellent example. Thank you, brother. Anybody else?
Peace, family. It's Issa.
Yo.
What's up, Q? What's the word, buddy? But the question, how would directional flow show up in the virtual dojo? And for me, I think that it would actually be like life itself. My movement and how I approach things, it has to be correct, or else it's powerless. It has to be correct, or else it's powerless. So I have to be intentional with how I move. So how I respond to certain situations that aren't necessarily favorable to me. How I, like, for example, that could be, oh, my arm is tired, and gravity is pulling my arm down, but I have to keep my directional flow. It's all intentional. So I think that for me, it shows up just through how I have to approach life in itself. I have to be like, it has to follow, if it's a straight blow, it has to follow that course, or else it's not proper directional flow, So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Much respected.
Veggie backing on East. This is Paul. Veggie backing on East. Both my, with both my sons, them growing into men from boys. Once I got used to them being, once I got used to what it took to parent boys, they fucked around and became men on me. And so um, my approach with how I interacted with them had to change. And I utilized in the virtual dojo the principle of directional flow in order to better communicate with them. I recognized in our communication that Issa dealt better, for example, with circular blows. So analogies, metaphors, similitudes, parables. Chaim, on the other hand, dealt better with, he and I communicated better when the conversation was more direct. So when he didn't respond the same as his brother did. So I had to use a different blow, so to speak. I had to use a different directional flow, rather, a different path to achieve the same result, which ultimately was to give my sons what it is that I had, that I felt would aid them in their development as men. So those are two ways that I utilized directional flow as a principle in the virtual dojo.
Thank you, sir. And you utilize them in one of the most challenging areas possible, which is one of our most important relationships in life as a parent. And we're going to go there in just a half a second. So let's shift our attention to the circular application in the Marshall space, and then we'll continue to climb the ladder. So again, we talked about the circular piece. It's just a series of arcs or complete circles. It's nothing in between. It's either a complete circle or it's a piece of a circle. But arcs or complete circles, whether it be large circles or be a small circle. And this weekend, we really dealt a lot of time in the physical space, and we all had some breakthroughs. Maybe not all of us, but many of us, myself included, certainly had some breakthroughs, revelatory breakthroughs at the use of the circle, and in specific, the small tight circle. We also dealt in spirals. So in this, this vastness, this infinitesimal potential combination of angles and arcs and turns and moves, straights and curves, we deal with that spiral. And that spiral is being moved on all axes at the same time. And we really dug deep into that. And I'm not going to attempt again. We got to keep this, more introductory than anything, because every aspect of this can expound into hours and hours of exchange and dialogue. The power of the circular blow is that you join first. You join the motion, you marry the motion, and in marrying the motion, you take on an opportunity to influence and redirect. Either you change its course, or you can even return it back to the source. So a power in the circle, the circular application, period, whether it's being utilized to neutralize another circle, or whether it's being utilized to neutralize a straight delivery, is that you join and influence, redirecting, changing course, or even returning that energy back to the source. Sometimes, and this was specifically related to our throws, the number of throws that we employ in our arsenal. Sometimes the throw is sweeping and graceful. It might be a long range, sweeping, graceful throw. And then other times it's tight and violent. And we looked at that closely this weekend on how to take that tight circle and the violent reaction that can result. And then it can also be tight and graceful, and it can be swooping and violent. So they interplay and they interchange with one another. Another very, very important piece when it comes to directional flow is our utilization of the maneuver. And our maneuver is the great equalizer. Our maneuver is not founded on a principle or a technique. Well, better stated, our maneuver is not founded on a technique that employs blocking. Our maneuver is not founded on a technique that employs blocking, because blocking is a strength-based application. Strength, as we learned before, must have resistance in order to realize itself. Strength is realized by way of resistance. Power, power stands alone. Power does not require resistance to realize itself. Power is distinctly different. And our maneuver is based on the principle that endows us with power to deal with straight blow, circular blow, somebody that has more muscle mass, somebody that has more physical mass, somebody that's taller, somebody that's shorter, even somebody that's faster, quote unquote, faster, the power of the maneuver. That essentially concludes what I had to say on the physical, martial side of directional flow. Does anybody have any questions, short comments about it? We're already 43 minutes in. We got a long way to go.
Instructor Keith,
I was just gonna say something about,
Your phone breaking up. We cannot hear a word. Sorry.
Peace, instructor. I was gonna say this is excellent, per usual. The added knowledge from the mathematical standpoint put into perspective that orb, that sphere. So I'm grateful for that. You exploding that a little bit. And Instructor Keith made a comment in the chat about when he uses circular blows or directional flow, so to speak. I was hoping that he could speak to that, or you could explode that a little bit too.
I have not seen it. Sister Salama, we cannot hear you. Instructor Northleg, are you available to speak?
That wasn't me. That was a hero. We just so happened to have the same
Oh
first.
Okay,
man,
what was the
I ain't have my
question?
I ain't have my glasses on. I just seen Keith. My bad.
No worries.
Instructor Keith.
Don't laugh, Chris. Don't laugh.
Oh ass.
Oh man.
Instructor Keith, please mute Sister Salama.
Paul's such an old man.
I was waiting on you, Theo.
Family. Let's keep it real classroom like, please. Only because we have other guests and this is being shared abroad. Let's keep it surgical for now.
Peace. Brother Paul called me out. Yeah, Keith is my government. Keith is definitely my government name. But yeah, I was saying that I tend to find myself only having to be indirect with people, place, and what I meant by that, crooked things or crooked people, they're out of whack. It's not out of whack, but internally there's something not correct. And so directness could be more damaging than helpful in certain situations. And so when a person or a situation is crooked or like a maze, it doesn't do you very much good to go crashing through walls or crashing through barriers or blocks or corners that people have put up. If you're gonna go in, sometimes you have to go around with the flow of how they are situated. It depends on their orientation and your approach to it.
Preach.
So that's where I was kind of going with that.
Excellent. That's you hear the gallery, so that's spot on, brother. And that speaks to, Paul spoke to that in the application of what it took for him to gain a better flow of communication with his growing young adult sons. I was remiss in one aspect. I do want to go back to add a caveat in our talking about the power being maximally powerful in one direction at a time. When we adhere to that principle, we also realize, or in my opinion, in my gut, tied to that is the ineffectiveness of attempting to fight multiple foes at once. Fighting multiple foes at once. Distinctly different from how you deal with a multiple attack, but attempting to fight multiple foes at the same time. Because if I'm maximally powerful here, I need to be with that one blow at that one time. And then if I have to deal with somebody here, I need to be with that blow and powerful here. And even if they're happening in billions of seconds of each other, they need to be individualized and maximally powerful for that one given moment, that moment, this moment, that moment, this moment, etc. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. Okay, with that being said, transitioning that to the virtual dojo we call life. This is the same, and I'm guilty of this. I am in the process through this, preparing for this lecture. I am and have committed to changing, but multitasking has proven to be ineffective. Multitasking in the sense of attempting to fight more than one foe at the same time and attempting to do more than one thing at the same time. So I have been beat in many fights because of this. And I have committed to myself to change this paradigm and create better habits. So I want us to take us, I don't say that want us to do anything, but something that came to me during this is to redefine multitasking. And this is my personal redefining of multitasking. It's a series of one thing at a time. A series of one thing at a time, directed, focused attention, the completion of tasks, and that completion being directed by a list and an action plan. Again, My definition, didn't get anywhere. Can't say this is the gospel truth. This is what I have committed to redefining multitasking as, because I have been losing in this fight more than I'm winning. A series of one thing at a time, directed, focused attention, completion of tasks as directed by a list and an action plan. And I'm sure we have some people that live by lists and organize themselves. Any one of you glorious people, please talk to us briefly about what you do and how you do it, and how it benefits you in your life.
Are you speaking on, okay, so if you're talking about writing out a list to stay organized, I do that uh for the day. I'll get up in the morning, I'll write out what it is that I want to do, and I'll give it a time frame. If it's completed within that time frame, good. I can knock that off my list. If it's not, I don't worry about it. I don't concern myself with it, because then I can just transfer it over to the next day and make that one of the top things that I do to get it out of the way.
Excellent. And this is something you do habitually? If so, how long have you
How
done this?
long, meaning,
How long
how
have
long
you, how long have you planned your day by list?
London, she guided that, because, you know, when you have kids, they have appointments and everything like that, and then you have to work around them. They come first. So you, up in the morning, it's hygiene, and then it's food, and then it's school. And seeing as how, you take them to school, then you go grocery shopping, and then you do some things in the house, and then you prep your food, and then you keep it moving. You go pick the kid up, and then you go from there.
Gotcha. So London is how old? 5?
6.
6. Yes, make sure we get that right. She's 6. So for the last six years, you have been moving according to plan. I mean, yeah, by plan, more so.
Yeah, for the most
And
part, absolutely.
and you've seen direct benefit in your life based on that.
Yes, I find myself getting more accomplished with her being here versus if it was just me solely by myself.
Gotcha. I know that feeling as a parent. Okay, table that. Thank you very much for sharing.
You're
Anybody else?
I only write things down when it's like for the week, like going into the week. If I know that there's a series of tasks that I need to accomplish, I will write them out on whatever needs to be accomplished that week. And then I know that like before that week is over, like I have to have those things done. And I've been doing that for like a while, but and I write it like somewhere where I can see it, because if I write it on a notebook, I'm gonna close that up and put it in a bag or put it up. But I like try to write it somewhere I can see it on. I have a whiteboard, so I try to write it on my whiteboard or on my calendar. Everything that needs to be accomplished that week, but I don't do it for the daily.
So do you try to write on the whiteboard, or do you write it on the whiteboard?
Oh no, I definitely write it on the whiteboard on Sunday. I try to. Well, let me stop saying try.
Okay, all right.
To accomplish everything on the whiteboard that week.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now let me ask you a question. Has anybody, is there any place that this could be a detriment? You know, there's always two sides of the coin, and we always have to harmonize a thing, and any too much of any one thing takes us out of harmony or balance, and we start to go in the other direction. Are there any restrictions? Are there any detriments to writing a list?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Just being lists can often predicate, um I ain't gonna say predicate, but attempting to predict or stick too rigidly to a plan doesn't work when you need to remain in the moment. And as things unfold in life, If there's no connection, you know, you're working to adhere to a rigid plan, and something in that plan goes awry, then you know that house of cards can fall. So having some focus, some visualization, some intention on what it is that you want to do, and then allowing for flow to take place and be present in the moment is kind of that sweet spot for me.
Absolutely. Excellent point. As usual, man, you exploded, because the only thing that's constant in life is change. So in this life, if you lived any amount of time, and those of us that are adults, you have seen that you can have the best laid plan, and then life is going to throw you a curveball. And if you can't adjust, then, you know, you can go down with your plan. So
I
that's
shade to that.
I say. So just today, look, so as an example, today I wrote a list. I even carried over some items from yesterday that I didn't accomplish, but I missed one item today, and it was actually a big item, but I flat out missed it on my list. And guess what? My mind was so closed on my list and checking my list, and I did get everything on my list. But the fact that I forgot go pick up a check from a particular office between a certain number of hours, I had it in my mind. It didn't make it to the list, and guess what? It was 4 o'clock. I'm shoveling snow, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I forgot to go get that check. So we must stay in the moment. We must stay harmonized. And this is where preparation comes into play, or moving in the moment. So I should have written it down when it first hit my mind instead of justifying it. I will catch it in a second, and I lost it. So without jumping down that rabbit hole, I appreciate the shares. Any quick questions? Did anybody need a definition of multitask? We good to go? Or anything else, anything pressing that we feel is relevant to this topic? Going once, twice. Okay, moving along. So third thing, moving along. So again, staying tied to the root of directional flow, moving out of our martial physical combat application as we transition into how we use it in life and beyond, right? Energy flows where attention goes. Attention must be set on our intentions. And then from there, direction of flow of man's energy. This was just, oh, so that's separate. Let me go back. Let me slow myself down. Energy flows where attention goes. And then attention must be set by your intentions. So your energy goes where your attention, ATTENTION, goes, right? Obviously, radio, computer, TV, social media, children, your mate, your co-workers, your business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, your intake, your diet, your et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, your finances, period. So our energy goes where our attention goes, but yet we must set our attention must be set on our intentions. Our attention must be set on our intentions. What is it that we intend to do? And we do ourselves a disservice, talking to myself, if we don't have a clear-cut plan upon which to focus your intentions, and then thereby do your work until it manifests for you. Ashe. So in chewing on that, it brought me into the direction of flow of man's energy, because we are energy beings in a physical experience, and we are comprised of more than just the physical earth suit, which we know. So without jumping down these rabbit holes, we're going to deal with the three primary, I won't say three primary, we're going to only deal with three of the multiple personages or aspects that make up the multifold, multifaceted creature we call man or woman. But as we know, we are spirit beings having a physical experience with the onboard supercomputer we call the brain, that has that deals through and with emotions. But we also have an ethereal body, we have an astral body, we have the soul and its connection to the spirit. So there's so many different dynamics that make up this fantastic piece of engineering we call a human being. But we're going to deal with the three. Again, those three are physical, mental, and emotional. So in the future, we're going to have graphics, and I'll be able to hit the button and have a dynamic design and presentation for you. But at this point, if you're taking notes, if you want to track with me the way it came out in my mind, on the left side of your paper, find some space. You don't need a lot of space, but at least half a page, I would say, depending on how big you write. And let's create a column for physical, middle of the page, mental, and to the right margin, emotional. Physical, mental, emotional. Physical, mental, emotional. Now, below physical, I wrote, again, aspects that fall under that physical piece. Health and wellness. Health and wellness are paramount to the physical body, maintaining the physical body. And then when we look at the physical piece, we talk about location. Where are you located? I think about, I got a note on here. Oh man, I had a biggie joke, but I lost it. But we talk about our location physically, and then put a star next to this one. Below location, we're gonna put race down there. Race. We're gonna expound on this. In the mental column, mental. The next one below that, in line with that, is education. Education plays into the mental. And then below that, you know, what is it that you spend your time thinking about? Thinking. What is it that you spend your time thinking about? Below that, and adjacent to race, put stressors. STRESSORS. I think that's how you spell it. That's how I spell it. Stressors, those things that bring us stress. And then under emotional, we're going to put down experiences. And under experiences, the word relationships. And then I numbered these sorts of relationships. Number one being parents, two being siblings. This is just the order I use, but your first contact with relationship in most instances is your parent. Then you have your siblings. Number three, I have mates. Four, money. Five, children. And six, habits. Six is habits. So now the way that, any questions on how that got set up? Before I go further, anything specific to tracking with that order of the words? Okay, cool. So the way it flowed through my mind, we start with the physical and we move down into the health and wellness. Obviously, what we put into our bodies, what we do to our bodies is paramount to our physical existence. You know, what we eat, drugs, alcohol, are we eating live vibrating foods? Are we eating foods devoid of vibration? Are we eating foods that, you know, create mucus? Are we eating foods that support our, you know, alchemical production levels? What are we eating? Health and wellness. Are we exercising? Are we sedentary? Are we sitting still all day? What are we doing? Are we stretching the body? Are we swimming? What are we doing? So physically, the physical body is absolutely tied to health and wellness. The second piece was location. Location. Where we physically located, as we know, those of us that are, you know, students of true history and anthropology, we understand that where man has evolved, the different continents or environments in which man has evolved have directly determined, have direct impact on our physical makeup, melanin content, eye color, nostril pattern, etc. Truncation, body style, body mass, etc. Location. That's on the intercontinental scale. Location, urban environment versus suburban environment versus rural environment. Location, war torn versus tropical. All of these things influence us physically. And race being the X factor. So as it flowed in my mind, I went down that path from physical, be it health and wellness, my location, our location, and then I had to factor in my race. So as a Black man in America and being a Black person on the planet, our race is a factor given the current, let's just talk about America, given the current dynamic, which we got a new change in leadership, but that's another topic. At any rate, race being the X factor, as a Black man in America in an urban environment, we deal with stressors. We deal with stressors that many of us Black people, not just the Black man, I'm talking about from a Black man perspective, Black and brown people, but as a Black man in America, we deal with stressors that many people don't. And we have in very recent days, I believe it was January 6th, they stormed the Capitol, whatever day that was, we got a very, very vivid example of the race dynamic in the United States. Because anybody that is able to be honest with themselves knows that had that same event taken place with people of Black, brown, yellow, red pigmentation, it would not have gone that way. It would have been a massacre. So we know firsthand, how white privilege plays out in this particular place. So, and that being said, that's just one aspect, but then just being a Black man in the urban environment, you're dealing with, you have to concern yourself, whether you know it or not, you're concerned with people that, how I say it, the takers, those people that will take before they work, those people that will steal, those people that are, severely lacking in education and refinement, being aggressive and violent. And as time goes on and the economy continues to struggle, this is only going to become more rampant. So not only do we have to worry about those that have less or want more, but then we have to worry about, interplay with the police. And again, hundreds of people violently demonstrating, causing the death of 5 or 6 people, looting the Capitol, but 5 deaths, 1 at gunshot by the police. So that dynamic, we know that we see Black men being killed in this and women being killed in this country on traffic stops. That's a stressor. You have to really think about the fact that, okay, I'm being pulled over. I have my children in the car. I am licensed to carry, so I got my weapon on me. How do I communicate this? Do I move before he get to the window? Do I wait till he get to the window and identify? I mean, these are things that many people just don't have to think about. So that being the X factor that moves us over into the mental space. What do you spend your time thinking about? Period. What is your education level? And some people got, high degrees. One of our senior instructors, Dr. Vondre, is a doctor, holds a doctorate degree. He's earned that degree. But we know some people that have these high degrees that don't have a monicum of common sense. And we get people that get so high and mighty in their education that they lose an appreciation for the spiritual things. Or we have folks that are so heavily laden with science that at the moment, they are in that space where you're dealing with science. In fact, when you look at science, honestly, there really is no contradiction between science and religion or spirituality, but that's another point. My point is we can get trapped in any one of these places, whether you become, potentially overeducated or undereducated through lack of exposure. So the physical took me down. The race was the X factor that brought me over to stressors that's leading me back up the page into time spent thinking about whatever that is, ellipse, ... that moves us into education, that moves us up into the mental space, and now I'm making a right to the emotional plane, because emotions are in large part, I don't want to say always, but in large part, emotions are tied to our experiences. And once we have an emotion attached, or um, a mental picture, a mental uh, memory tied to an emotional experience, whether it's positive or negative, good or bad, pleasurable, non-pleasurable, pleasurable, painful, whichever you prefer. Once that's done, it's in the memory bank, it's in the supercomputer, and it can become, it will undoubtedly become ingrained in your subconscious mind and can be conveyed down through, through the DNA. But experiences are those things which teach us the best, because you can have all the information, you can feed it to your brain, but like Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until they get hit in the mouth. And so what happens once you get hit in your mouth and your nose is bleeding? Can you still execute? So it's the experience that in so many instances paralyzes us or can be used to empower us. And again, those experiences being tied to those relationships, starting with your parents, your siblings, moving into your mates, could be your children, wherever you want to, you're definitely going to deal with your money, your habits, etc. And these relationships, they all continue to play back into the mental plane, continue to play back into the physical plane, and the cycle continues. So I pause there, and I really would love some feedback as to how this played out in you, what made sense, what didn't make sense, anywhere you can see it applying to your life, and how you can apply it, or the principle of directional flow through the directional flow of man's energy diagram.
Can you
Well,
guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So on the directional flow piece, this lecture just made a connection for me on in the like with the dojo and like real life with people, where because this is long before I ever um was with you all, but with my son, like for example, walking around like in New York or being on the train or different things like that, we would be moving, and at one point I would stop him and I would say, come, we would be going in one direction. I would stop him and say, come, go, let's go over this way. Whether we were in the supermarket or if we were in the platform and we were about to get on one car, and then I'd be like, no, let's get on this car. All of a sudden I would change the direction, and he would be like, why, what'd you do? And I'd just say, just go. And then later I would tell him and I would explain, because of something I saw. I saw somebody or a situation with us, because I just saw the energy surrounding that situation, or is or basically like the situation itself telegraphed to me that there's something was about to occur. And every time I did that, as soon as I would go around the corner or take another direction, we would be like, okay, something actually, ended up occurring in that where we were going, on the path that we were going. And so I'm just like thinking about those times when I did that, because I saw something that telegraphed that there was about to be a movement that I wanted to maneuver. And so it just made me make the connection with, Kenpo, and even like being in practice, is when you're in that situation, the person might not even be moving, but there might be a certain energy. And instructor Vaughn talks about it all the time. It's like when he faces somebody, he knows exactly what they feel, what if they're afraid, if they're anxious, if they're, if they think they're going to lose, if they think they're going to win. Like I've heard him say this so many times. And so in that instant, you know which direction to go, or you are able to yeah, just you're able to, I guess, yeah, you know which direction to go. So that's the connection I made with this whole lecture.
Excellent. Excellent. And you walked right into the question I was going to ask you with regard to what happens when you don't see. And you don't have to answer that if anybody else wants to chime in. Thank you for that wonderful share, practical share. But what happens when you can't see? Because when we look at the physical, we're limited physically by sight. We're even limited by our mental capacities in many instances. What about what happens when you can't see?
When you can't see what?
When you can't see. I want you to table, I want to open the floor to somebody else if you don't mind, not to cut you off, but
No, but I just wanted you to expand the question so that I can meditate on that.
okay. So you used perfect, beautiful examples of moving through a busy place like New York. You and your son, you are obviously paying attention to your surroundings. You are being vigilant, for your safety and for efficiency and movement. And you said that, many instances you've seen something that clued you to the fact that you should go in a different direction, get on a different car, etc. So I said, what happens when you can't see that thing coming to give you that unction to do, or give you those instructions to do something different?
Mm. Okay.
Chew on that one. Anybody want to pick that up?
Peace. So what I'm getting from this, the physical aspect of directional flow, is we can deal with the things in a virtual way. We can deal with things directly or indirectly, whether it be a person or whatnot. And then the metaphysical aspect, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, would be we set an intention or make a wish, or we have something that a dream, something we want to make happen, and then it's either, or even something small as like, I'm hungry, let me go get something to eat. That'd be direct, but indirectly it would be letting go of, like, we want this to happen, but we let that go. We put in the universe, let the universe manifest it. Maybe and for an example, someone brings us something to eat, or we're trying to create a business, and we have to be direct in some ways and let everything flow and put itself together in other ways. So I guess I'm talking about either making things happen intentionally or allowing things to happen for themselves. Would that be the metaphysical aspect of directional flow? Am I getting that?
My first inclination is to say not really, but I don't know that that is the best conclusion. If you don't mind, let's table it. Let's hear from some other people and see if they paint the same picture for you, or if you get a different vantage point or some different inputs, if you don't mind.
Yes, that'd be really good.
Okay. So I want to go back to the question of, in the virtual dojo of real life, Sister Salama gave us beautiful examples of what happens when you can see a danger or a detriment or a better way, right? How does that play out when you can't physically see a thing?
When you can't see, you have to use feeling. You have to feel.
Exactly. Come on, keep on. Come on, Sister Chanel, you got more.
So you have to be able to pretty much be in meditation to be in contact and in union with the things that are going on, be able to absorb the energy of the opponent, being able to observe what they're going to do, even if it's through feeling, even if it's not a physical observation, and be able to obey the fight. And what that looks like in the real world as well is trusting your intuition, being adaptable when things are coming, knowing which blow to use once something comes, even if it was unexpected. And then getting your lesson from it too is a huge part of that. Like if something comes and it's unexpected, there's probably something that you missed along the way or things like that, and getting your lessons.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I knew you had more to it. And that is going to move us in the direction that we need to go in regards to empowering our lives. What are we doing to empower our lives? Anybody else with a real quick share? Okay, so utilizing when we accept the fact that our and this is going back to, I hope this is going to pull back to what you were saying, Topher. When you use the example of building a business, whatever that may be, aspiring to be the best father you can be, aspiring to be the best husband you can be, the best wife you can be, aspiring to be, a builder, an electrical engineer, aspiring for your doctorate degree, whatever it may be, we must set our intention. Again, where your attention goes, your energy flows, and you must set your attentions based upon your intentions. What is it that we intend to do? So we can move in life, and many of us do move in life haphazardly, and we get haphazard results. Or we can move on purpose. But in moving on purpose, by a list, by a plan, we must maintain that flexibility to move according to the moment. So the bottom line takeaways are, it's important for us to set our course, set a plan, but it's even more important, or as important, for us to stay connected and stay in the moment. And to the point of the whole lecture series is for us to move in power, not just physically, but metaphysically. It's something that came out of this week's, I got a good surprise for y'all. So something that came out of this week's intentional adherence to metaphysical mechanical conditioning of getting up at 4:45, preparing ourselves, inundating our minds with information that we're going to take to our meditation space. And then being on purpose about that time, getting up in the morning, setting our gratitude, getting to our feet, meditation, doing it as a collective. That is critical and key to us gaining power and moving against and moving beyond metaphysically, mentally, moving beyond the conditions that are imposed upon us in the world. So I say that to say that two things. One, it's imperative that we get to know thyself, ye are God's children of the Most High God. And the work that we've been doing, family, is positioning us to better know ourselves, to better know our Creator, and to better engage with the energies that are around us. Because if we move only by what we can see, and Instructor Keith can give you data points that escape me right this second, but we deal in such a small, itty bitty, insignificant amount of visual or even physical through our five senses. That which we can perceive is so infinitesimal or minimum, that we know that the greater is beyond us. And so it's our goal and our mission through the 36th chamber, and those of us that are staying tied together, to move ourselves beyond physical limits of our bodies, physical limits of our brains, beyond the limits of our emotion, to be as whole and complete as we were born to be. Representatives and vicars of the Most High, the Creator of heaven, earth, and everything in it. So, for all intents and purposes, that concludes the lecture on the point of balance, directional flow. We started our Marshall application with straight blows and circular blows, and we move up and through into us being energy beings, bioelectrical, magnificent machines that have onboard supercomputers that are absolutely the essence of the creator endowed in this physical flesh with all of these tools at our disposal. So that's what I have. One other thing, I think it's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing for me. In a discussion this weekend, inspired by Sister Salama, in fact, she brought up the benefit of having our meditation this week and having that as a pillar for us to anchor ourselves on, but not having it so confined as to, the camp style that we had this week, but being available to us to plug into whenever the need is there. That discussion, I took back to the instructional staff, and I am pleased to say that effective immediately, one of the 5 of us will always be in queue as a leader for meditational practice. So that means until further notice, family, at 4:45 a.m., the alarm clock is going to be going off at one of your instructors' houses, and somebody is going to be in the space to move us into meditation. And so we have not figured out all the details of that just yet, etc. But I can tell you for certainty, I am going right back to week 2. So come tomorrow, we finish up with the crown. On Thursday, I'm right back rooted, and I'm gonna keep this cycle going until further notice. Again, taking that pressure off every single day. Sometimes it don't work. We miss some, like tonight, we didn't make our 9 o'clock, but the fact that it will be there as a pillar for us to anchor ourselves on in our individual and collective development, I'm proud and happy to share that information. Come on now, then everybody should come off view. We should be clapping and
hey, I'm excited.
Sister Salama, you can take credit for the inspiration on that. But we can't hear you again. No. Go back to where you were.
No, inspiration.
We can't hear you. Is it just me?
Move around, Salama.
Okay. I said forget it.
Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, let's start our feedback. Let's start making our rounds. No, we cannot hear you now. Okay, we can't hear you, sis. We're gonna come back to you.
You just repeated me.
Huh? We can't hear you.
She could share in the chat if she wanted to.
That's a good idea. Please type it because we cannot hear you. Okay, let's start with Brother Javion.
Peace, instructor.
Peace, bro.
Just want to say I appreciate you. Great week, another great lesson. We ended off on that meditation piece, and I just want to touch on that briefly. Like, that has been so profound these last couple of weeks. I appreciate you giving us that challenge. I don't know, it's something about that just sets off my directional flow and my purpose each day, setting up to, build up my will to get up and to get focused and get my mind right instead of, lagging and dragging. So I just wanted to say I appreciate that greatly. And I do look forward to more going forward.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I totally agree, man. So I can't take credit for it, man. It was inspired. I thank the Most High for the inspiration, and I'm really thankful for those of us that have tuned in and been a part of doing it. It's been profound. I mean, I've had a powerful week. My life changed this week, literally, quite literally. So I'm with you, brother. Now we're gonna keep moving. Thank you.
Hey, for sure.
Sister Lovely.
It's a great class. Brings up a lot of good points. Directional flow, and to veggie off of what JVN just said about meditation and being up this morning. So I have not been up every day with you guys, but I intentionally stay quiet because I found within the not sharing and saying to myself, I've been pretty quiet throughout all of this. And I hear better sometimes in silence. So reading what everybody was sharing and then the experiences that I was having within myself, it has been a great journey this week. Like you just said, this week has completely changed a lot of different things, like my approach, my intention with every day. So it's been great. Sometimes, I just learn better in silence. And then with retrograde being around, sometimes it's just easier to not speak and let the universe have its way. So this is really good. Thank you.
Ashe. Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to know that you were engaged even in your silence. That's awesome. Sister Nashani.
Peace, family. Again, great class. Thank you very much. I am sorry that I was about 30 minutes late by the time I got back home. I did resonate very much with being direct versus indirect with the approaches in daily life and how that presents in life. I didn't know about the 4:45 a.m. Meditation that you guys were doing. That sounds, honestly, personally, I'm not a morning person, so it sounds really challenging to me to even hear it, but I am going to try it. I find myself doing this every time when I wake up, although I think my current work life is definitely seeping into my sanity. So most of the time I'm finding myself kind of peeling myself off the bed, like trying really hard to make it to work, to be at work, to be engaged, and to be intentional with the attention. So I appreciate you for saying that, instructor, because I want to be intentional about the people that I help, but my attention and my intention keeps wavering away from me just because of all the other factors that are happening at work. So I will try to be a little earlier. I think I might slowly creep up the time just so that I can get better at waking up in the morning.
So you said try 3 times in your
Oh my
short talk, and that is the source, as the area that I really need you to pay close attention to. You are a powerful being, but you are ignoring your power. You are not exercising your power. And this particular week's assignment pressed most of us, I would say, to move beyond our comfort or our try, because I speak for myself. I was a very early riser consistently pre-COVID. And if no other time, once we got into this shutdown, my rise time has decreased by hours. And we all know how fast time is moving. We do not have time to lose hours that we can gain. And more importantly, from a metaphysical perspective for that time of morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:45, but before 6 is when the conditions in the universe and our solar system are, are from our vantage point on the planet, are quiet. It's as quiet as it's gonna be all day until you find yourself back in that space. So I say all that just to say, I don't want you to try. You need to make a decision that you're going to get up, you're going to join us, or you choose to stay slumbering. And one thing that, again, was brought out, the benefit of it being a staple, because from day to day, circumstance to circumstance, these days are different. They all feel different. One night is different from the night before. So, to take the pressure off of, if you can't make it for 7 days in a row, don't join. We're not saying that, but knowing that it's available to you, you just need to make a decision, and you need to plug in. And when the alarm clock goes off, you need to roll out, find yourself prepared, and then go in. And I dare say you're gonna find some benefit from it. But I appreciate your transparency and being honest enough to say, hey, I may have to make some adjustments, because I've done that many times on many different challenges in this family. So thank you very much. So my question to you, I'm gonna do like Instructor Keith does. Are you going to join us for meditation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, I would love to.
Okay. And what day you think you're gonna start? What day do you intend to start?
Thursday.
Okay. All right. We got 20 other people that heard you say that. And most importantly, the universe heard you say it. So we'll see you on Thursday, and we'll make sure we get you in the chat.
Got it. Thank you.
Sister Salama, can you talk now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
As you can tell, I'm still having technical difficulties until I move back into my original apartment. This
don't move.
And it kind of be. But anyway, I still stay in the fight. I'm here. And I just want to say another great lecture. And I'm really grateful that we're going to be able to have that application to tap into on a regular basis. It feels like another layer added to the university and the different tools for us to utilize. So I'm grateful for that. And yeah, another great lecture. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you for the inspiration, and I look forward to the journey. Sister Rada, are you speaking today? Okay, maybe you said no in the chat. Terrence, are you with us?
Yes, peace, instructor. I just want to say thanks for the lesson today. I know I'm gonna be revisiting this once it's up on the channel. My note taking skills ain't the fastest, but I got down a few good things. I want to say thanks for the lesson, and I appreciate the knowledge you spreading.
You are welcome, nephew. I appreciate you, appreciate your presence. And you meant to say that you are improving in your note-taking skills, is what you meant to say, right?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant to say.
My man. All right, brother. Thank you for grinding. You've been grinding this week too, man. So let's keep moving and let's keep growing.
Yes, sir.
All right, Javion. Sister Chanel.
Great lesson. Definitely appreciate it. I love how every time we relearn something, it's just so much more depth to it and so many new lessons. And when you ask the question, like, what do you do when you can't see what's coming, and how that actually does connect to just your blow selection and even point of contact. For me, that really hit home on just the physical level and the metaphysical level. I never really thought of directional flow in the sense of feeling and not being able to see, because it would seem like, oh, well, you know which flow to choose or how your directional flow goes based off of what you see. But oftentimes it's actually not based off of what we see, and we do have to follow, feel, and set our intention so that our flow gets to where it's going and we make the right selection. So I definitely appreciate today's lesson.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. We appreciate your presence. And I'm glad that, you didn't disappoint. And thank you for your support this week too. We missing Sister Kimmy, but thank you for your support in what you provided us to aid the supercomputer in the mind as we took ourselves to our meditative practices. So as usual, we appreciate you, Queen. Love you. Thank you so much.
I love you too. My pleasure. Thank you.
Excellent. Aaron Monroe, say ya.
Hey, babe. Peace, everybody. I thank you, honey, for the great lesson tonight. Appreciate you for starting the whole directional flow and point of balance lesson. What struck out to me was the question that you posed: what are we doing to empower our lives? And our attention has to be intentional. And this whole weeks of meditation, I do meditate. Well, you know, I meditate, but having the attention on the meditation made me more intentional. So intentional on praise and worship, gratitude, just having the structure of meditation. So that was very powerful this week. And then you mentioned the directional flow of a man's body and the physical, the mental, emotional aspects of it. And all those are actually our primary foods, because if the physical and mental and emotional is off balance, then the directional flow is off balance as well. So those things are not proper. If we're not putting those proper primary foods together, then the directional flow will not be, it won't be, you won't have that power and balance either.
Ashe, excellent. I wasn't even thinking about that. That's great. We're gonna build on that. We're gonna build on that big. Thank you very much. Thank you for staying engaged and definitely being all the way about it. Being connected to a woman like you does not allow a man like myself to slack. You got to stay on it, because when you get it, and those made like you, when you get it, you got it. And if you don't want to fall behind, you better stay at pace. So I appreciate you for the inspiration and the push, accountability partner.
Ashe.
Ashe. Sister Teresa.
I knew you was gonna have me follow that. Great lesson. Yeah. I've been working with I've been getting up in the mornings, doing the meditation a couple of nights. One night I didn't even go to sleep. So I just went on and meditated at 3:45. Once I was done, I sat down to read, and I just ended up on that yoga mat sleep for about an hour. But that's bringing me to, like, I guess, direction of, I forget which one, but looking at myself and bringing intention on what I am meditating on, focusing on for the meditation. And it's a great exercise to me, because I see it's going to take me a little while to get good at it. So focusing on the different I forget what they call it, the sacrals and the chakras. So that's new for me. I posted in the chat like once. It takes me so long to write all that stuff. So I tried to do a video, but that didn't work. Oh. But it's good for me. Angles, as far as angles coming from, I don't know, like if it's okay, I'm off of my directional flow by being pulled out of balance or off my point of contact, or I pulled myself off my point of contact when something was said to me.
Point of balance, you would be
Point
moving
of
off your point of balance or control over your center. So say
Yes.
again now, you were asking a question or you making a statement?
I said I believe I pulled myself. I brought myself off my point of balance.
Okay, it happens.
And that was yesterday by something that was told to me, and I just it just threw me for a loop. And so I kept trying to I kept reminding myself that 5 minutes, what is it? Anger is 5 minutes, emotions is 60 seconds or something. The rest of the time it's a choice.
Correct.
So I kept reminding myself of that, and I'm coming out of it.
Okay.
I'm coming out of it. So and when I can approach it tomorrow.
Okay.
With a sound mind and words that are right speech.
Excellent.
Using right speech.
Excellent. So
yes.
I got a couple things. Number one, salute to you because you're on Central Time, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So you've been getting up at 3:45 in the morning. Nishani, put your good ear on that. Teresa getting up at 3:45 in the morning. So
Yes.
so that's the first thing. Thank you. And you've been actively contributing. We appreciate your presence. Second thing, before it escapes me, do you have this application? Do you have Telegram on your laptop?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know I could go on there.
You can download it on your laptop, and that will allow you to type into the chat with your keyboard, which will help you cut down your time if you're having challenges expressing your thoughts on your telephone. Third thing, I want to ask you, it sounds like, but I want to hear from you. Can you, given whatever that circumstance that was presented to you yesterday that threw you off your point of balance, it happens, would you have reacted differently before being a part of the 36 chamber?
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Excellent.
Some expletives and all that good stuff. A little bit of stomping, slamming doors, all that good stuff.
Exactly. So you would say that you were able to respond powerfully to something that would have had you respond in a different, more or definitely unproductive way in the past. Is that a true statement? Excellent.
Yes.
So that's the whole goal. That's what it's all about. So
Yes.
I hope
I had a good, I responded good. I responded from my heart, and it was not, it came out just like this in this tone. There was no craziness, and it was met with just like blank stares and no words. So
excellent.
And I just left it alone,
And you'll pick it up and you'll be in control of it tomorrow. So
yes.
Power, that's moving in power. and it didn't even need resistance. You see
Right.
that? See, strength, playing strength needed resistance. You offered no resistance and you left your opponent powerless, blank stares with no words. And you got the benefit of coming back to it tomorrow and you'll be in the power position. How about that? Ashe. Now that's beautiful. Hey, we're gonna just stop right there. We got other people to go. That's almost a mic drop. Sister Randy, come on. Talk about it.
I hear your instructor. I'm just coming in. Peace, family. I got a lot out of tonight, and I appreciate the good words coming from you. You covered a lot, and this is part 3 of our 4-week segment, coming into the physical formula of power. And I've been absent in the physical space, also virtual, but I've also been here present in both. And as I look at my life, I reflect on the last couple of weeks, us covering the point of balance, where in my virtual life, where I'm tipping over my point of balance. So back to the 3 things that you talked about tonight, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. Moving forward, what can I do to better myself? And the physical, you talked about health and wellness, and that's something that I deal with on the daily, as well as location, not so much race. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, I'm greater when I'm at home, I'm centered and I'm grounded within my own. But as I move around family or out here in these virtual streets, I tend to tip over my point of balance, a lot of times with intent. A lot of times with intent, not because I'm being pulled so much, because I do control so what this supercomputer and what I'm doing with my physical body. So never do I want it to be as an excuse to any members of the family or the clan that that's an excuse. With that being said, I'm still out of town. I miss everybody. Definitely miss being in the physical space. Moving into the mental, and what you spoke of really hit to me as far as my attention and my intentions. Back to the mental, the second piece of what you spoke of, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. When my intentions don't have my attention, it definitely helps me tip over the scales. So when it gets into like the second week, mechanical conditioning, we're working on this flesh suit, as you refer to it, Instructor Aku, getting into the 7-day challenge, because I opted in. It wasn't forced, shout out to the 36, giving gifts, dropping jewels. I opted in, and prior to coming from out of town, I was going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. So now we're doing the full, physical transformation where I'm waking up at 4:15. My clock has been set at 4:15. I have multiple alarms in 4:15 in 15-minute increments, because at 4:30, I actually want to be nice and relaxed before I even get into what I need to be getting into for last minute, because I have to do that for myself within the discipline. As far as like reporting and expressing, I believe that was Sister Lovely, who mentioned a lot of stuff you do want to keep to yourself, in reference to expressions. And in the last time I was in a physical space, that was something that you spoke to me as far as, Randy, express yourself. I'm working on it. Coming out of this mass. So today I did not practice at all. And it was because I hadn't even watched the third chakra video, and I wanted to watch that prior to. Shout out to my sister queens who've been dropping the jewels as far as the affirmations. I believe Sister Chanel, perhaps Kemet, y'all be having Telegram cranking. I got a lot going on. I'm in a lot of different groups. I got just a lot. And y'all be y'all get down, and I can't always catch up, but I skim through, and I might not comment though. But I appreciate all the memes, the jewels, and the jokes, and especially shout out to everybody that is willing and able to express their feelings and put it out there for everybody in the family, and I appreciate that. I look forward to one day becoming that expressive when I can just let go and give y'all my all. But even while I'm away, I'm still here. And the emotional aspect of it. I heard you, instructor. You brought it down as far as our experience in relationships, the parents, the siblings, the mates, and so forth. And that's not really my issue in life, even though I have those experiences. So tying it back to the subject at hand tonight, our directional flow, me getting past my point of balance and what's tipping me over, me working on my mechanical conditioning, getting my directional flow together, as you always say, my feet, me getting my leg movement and the physical. It's the same for my virtual. You know what I'm saying? I'm not at home. I need to get my feet and my movement back to where I need to be grounded at so I can do this thing for self. So I love y'all. I hear you. I might not always comment, but I'm definitely tapped in.
I say, we love you and appreciate you too. You are definitely growing. You have shown your commitment. You are a different person from the first time we met and talked. I remember, I can see myself. It was a beautiful sunny day, the first conversation we had. And welcome, we appreciate you. And I personally see a lot of growth and development, and you just getting started. So you stuck with us, and we stuck with you, and it's a pleasure.
Kimpo for life, baby. Kimpo for life. 36 and we out.
That's what I'm talking about. Brother Paul Carr, come on, bro.
Peace and love, everybody. Instructor, thank you for, man, everything you do. You and all the instructors. But, you know, many people don't know, or many people probably do know just how much you do for this family, this clan, outside of the dojo and even outside of this virtual space. But with everything you got going on for you to source all of this information for us and adding on to what it is that we, you know, get from day one, you know, in this physical formula for power is awesome. So thank you for that. My takeaway, there's a few levels from tonight that I got. Some of them are things that we dealt with on Saturday mornings, so I won't go into that. But just know that I'm seeing it from that lens as well, instructor. So shout out to you again, Rob, to your master teacher ship, creating a space for us to, you know, explore our options, our thoughts, and freely express. And also, one of the biggest things that is related yet unrelated is no, it's all related, is listening to my sisters and brothers in their word selection, the way that they are expressing themselves. I'm seeing the development of their blows and their directional flow. And it's beautiful. I'm seeing seeing the crispness of that, the flight path of the directional flow from thought to articulation, becoming more and more precise. So when they're getting straight to it, that axis, that x-axis is looking beautiful, and then the parabola, you know, when they are giving similitudes and life examples, I'm seeing more precision from my sisters and brothers, and it's encouraging me to go deeper, to be even more concise and precise with my thoughts and expressions. So beautiful space that was created and curated by you tonight, and shout out to everybody who is on the call. Miss and love y'all. Q, if you still on, I love you, son.
Brother Paul, man, I love you so much, man. Man, I love you, bro. Your vocabulary. I just wrote a couple words down that you said that I'm gonna go get real present too, man. But yes, absolutely. Shout out to other clan members, man, being intentional in their dialogue and on purpose about their words, in direct alignment with what Instructor Vaughn has taught us, in that power is language sensitive. So I agree with you 1,000%. We are watching the principles at play, both on the floor, physically, and in the virtual dojo space, man. Thank you, brother. I know you got a departure time to hit. We're almost done, man. If you got to sign off, do. If not, we're gonna wrap up, man. But you got to make sure you get some rest for you. You make that move you need to make, man. Love you very much. Thank you for always bringing what you bring to the table, man. Positivity and dedication to the discipline and to life, man. So you are my guy, brother Raphael. Raphael Wright, full government. You may be, can you talk, brother? We're gonna skip Raphael. Brother Kenyatta.
Peace, instructor. Whew, bruh. Great class, man. You know, I just you know, going back, man, this is, you know, like these fundamentals, man, these the formula for power, and you know, it never gets old, man. It's so, it's like dimensions. It's like dimensions to even the foundations, you know, it just keep, you know, it just like, this stuff is eternal. And so just sort of dealing with it, you know, philosophically, and applying it to my life. You know, this past week, it took me a second to even get back on board. So for all of the green and whites below, you know, who are saying, hey, you know, I didn't get a chance to get on. Look, I'm a purple, and it still took me a second to snap in, and even days where I didn't quite tap in at 5 o'clock. I mean, you get up at 4:45, but we tap in at 5. And but it was still whipping me on my spirit. It was like, yo, you know, you gotta hold your integrity. You gotta fight to hold your integrity. And so, you know, I would find myself jumping in at like 6, you know, 6:30 or something like that. I knew I had to get it in. And what that tells me is that you know, because change is eternal, you know, in one way or another, life does kind of go up and down, and go up in fears, and all these different dimensions and different axes and spheres and so forth. But we just have to remain to be committed, and with every choice that we make, there's a cost and benefit. So the main thing is to stay intentional, and you will discover possibility. You may have intended to do one blow, but if you are aware, you know, that's something that we talked about, just our awareness. If you are aware, sometimes solutions will come in the awareness. So you just have to just be open. And that's what the meditational practice that we went through the last week is. Just, even though eyes were closed, it was just opening up a whole new gateway. And I will say this, man, the days that I was on point at 4:45, I was most productive. So there is magic in that, man. There's magic in there, and you know, in intention. And when we put our attention and attention and we sync them, we can maximize power. So thank you for that, instructor. Thank you for modeling it, man. And I just appreciate you and love you, man. And keep it moving. Let's go.
Brother, love you too. You said it, you sink it, and then we exponentially grow up with our collective, brother. The world has not seen it happen, but I guarantee you, they know, and the ancestors know, and it will come to be. So we're not even gonna go down there, but you had a beautiful line here, brother. Stay intentional, and you will discover possibility.
Yes, sir.
I wrote that down. I got some stars around that, brother. Thank you, man. Love you always for your work, your words, your diligence, and what you talked about, integrity. See, because that's what counts, man. This is an individual sport, brother. This thing called life, and you fortunate to find good teammates, and that's what we have. But you still got to get up and do your part. And whether somebody's watching you or not, that's what makes and breaks us, improves us, allows us to prove ourselves as, you know, desiring to earn our title and office, live up to our calling. So we just got a group think, man. We got a support group that's out cold, that's out of this world, and we are all collectively benefiting from it, brother. And you are certainly a valued contributor, man. Love you and I appreciate you. All right, so that concludes everyone but our instructors. Instructor Nate, come on, brother. Thank you for joining us again, man. Missed you.
Hey, I missed you all. You guys have a lot to say, and it's all pretty awesome to hear everything that's been said. And on that note, you you all are all super awesome, and I really don't have anything to say.
You and I talked about this the last class, man. You always had a beautiful line for Instructor Northleg. I won't get in my emotions about it, but I appreciate your presence, man, and I honor your limited speech today. Thank you, bro. God bless you, man.
Well, it's not always a bad thing. Honestly, when I was training, my best classes were when my instructors had nothing to say to me, because that means they had no corrections to make. So honestly, I was just kind of reflecting on that spirit and attitude when I didn't have anything to say there. So,
Oh, man. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
hey,
Instructor
appreciate
Ghost.
and love you all too.
Yes, sir. Peace. Instructor Ghost.
Yes, sir. Awesome job, brother, as always. What comes to mind for me that I like to share is when we talk about straight blows and circular blows, is proper blow selection. So bringing the right tool to the job, you know, knowing which tool to bring to the job, because it's a fact that when we strike, we are also always open. So whenever we strike, we're open always. So in life, when we obey the fight, sometimes yielding or redirecting is the proper response for that moment. So the point is that I think there's a verse in Psalms that comes to mind. It's a calm answer turns away wrath. A calm answer turns away wrath. So it doesn't always require a blow in every situation. And sometimes, again, a redirection, a maneuver, or a yield can be just as powerful or as effective as a quote unquote blow. So that's just my input.
Man, as usual, brother, you never, ever disappoint. I call you E.F. Hutton for a reason, because when you open your mouth, you better listen, bro. Dude, Ghost Prodigals, I say, man, the proper blow selection just completely shot past my radar, man. So here's an example for the world to see the value in our instructional core. You know, what one of us misses is not gonna get missed by five different instructions. Man, that was powerful, brother. Proper blow selection. Whenever we strike, we are also open. Always. We must remember that. And then a calm answer turns away wrath, bro. 3 jewels, as usual. You a jeweler. Love you, man. Thank you. Thank you for your presence, man. And I look forward to your leadership, man, as we continue up this path and move into continue to move into our duties, man. So thank you.
Likewise, bro.
Thank you.
Much respect. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Same to you. Instructor Northleg.
Peace. Definitely a great class, as always. I was definitely interested to see where you were going to go with this one because, you know, every class I always think about how would I approach teaching this, and you always take it in different directions than I would have, but definitely impactful and beneficial nonetheless. So that was excellent. And I guess the main takeaway that I appreciated was when you said that the environment gives way to direction. And if you think about it, like if you're driving, you can only go one of two directions. You know, like you can either go left or right, so to speak. But the environment dictates the direction that you travel. And outside of dictating it, it also gives you the space to realize the directional flow as well. Because without environment, how could you realize any direction? And you know, I appreciate you exploding that fact, and it gives a different perspective to being aware or awareness, because if you're on the road but you don't know which way the traffic is going, you're going to be lost. And the awareness piece to me is what gives you the direction in which to travel. So, you know, as we call it, obeying the fight, we obey the direction based on our awareness of what's given in the environment. So, obviously, again, all roads lead to meditation, as we always say. And meditation is a tool that allows you to sharpen the awareness to know which direction to move in, whether it's straight or circular, you know, in the physical sense. So definitely appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. I'm writing down a couple of those pieces. Thank you. As usual, you know, you do what you do, bro. So that was huge too. Environment dictates and provides the space for the possibility, and then meditation being a tool to sharpen the awareness, for sure, no doubt or contradiction about it. Getting back on the meditation regimen, I'm telling you, my life changed this week, period, and I'm not gonna turn back. And with all this inertia, we're not gonna turn back. So it hasn't even begun what's getting ready to unfold. But brother, thank you for always being there, man, supporting, controlling, organizing, you know, doing what you do, brother. I appreciate you. Love you, man.
Thank you. Love you too.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
The mighty instructor Cedric, First Don, Mecca.
Brother, again, dope class.
Second Don, excuse me.
Oh yeah. Dope class, and I didn't want to have to come after North on this, but I don't have much anyway. First of all, formula for power. Cannot underestimate how powerful it is in its simplicity, seeming simplicity. That foundational information in anything you do is power, and this is day one foundational information. And cool, got to give props to you again for, I'll say, speaking to one of my pet peeves is ceremony with no substance. I don't like being in spaces where it's all ceremony, it's all beautiful, and you walk away and you're not edified. So just putting these takeaways in here, action items to go away and build on it is so powerful. With that being said, I want to urge everyone to do the work to get on those meditations at 4:45. The more muscle you use, that muscle called discipline, you use to get up and get in that meditation, the more strength, more power you'll access from this. Because remember, this is the formula for power. It's about accessing power. And that's what the meditation is about, the mechanical conditioning meditation. So yeah, that's all I got. But great class. Again, put in that work, everybody. And I'm speaking to myself as well, because I got to put the work in too. All right, peace, family.
Bro, thank you, instructor Ashe. As usual, man. Like I say, and you know what, man? You, as usual, brother, you were critical in my pushing me to the level of black. And even last week, you iced the cake when you came back and you just anchored us down on being clear that this is about access to power. We cannot overlook it on its simplicity, in the simplicity of it on the surface. And like you just said, using the muscle of discipline is truly, that piece. Let me slow myself down. Using the muscle of discipline, period. It has to be exercised like you would exercise a physical muscle. And one thing is for certain, when you exercise the discipline, period, it never, ever, ever fails you. And it is so expansive that even in going back to the seemingly rudimentary beginning, it just expounds and continues to show itself as worthy of your time and your attention, brother. So thank you, instructor, for all you have done for me and continue to do. Love you, bruh. And
I love you too, brother.
and then y'all getting on, please get on. But I know what kind of hours you keep, man. So when it requires you to get more rest, bro, and catch up later, please don't let ego slip in. Go and get them couple hours, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love you, bro. Thank you.
Love you too, brother.
And last but certainly not least, the mighty instructor, second Dan, Dr. Vondre. Come on, bro. Close us out. Take us home.
Hey. Brother, as always, man, you never cease to amaze me with how you wrap your head around just the basics and expand people. And I know when you expand people, you are also expanding yourself. So man, hats off to you, man. Great job today, as always, as you've been leading us down or leading us through this path. Couple of things that stood out to me in the teaching, in the directional flow, because I too, as North would say, well, man, how would I have handled that? I'm like, damn, how, just wondering what direction were you going to take and how you were going to go with it. And I'm like, okay, that was pretty good, So, man, I'm also learning each, just learning and taking it in as well. So, man, great job. Proud of you, man. A couple of takeaways. I have to adhere to what Instructor Cedric was saying about the discipline, working that muscle of discipline. It is the discipline that is the distinction. That whatever discipline that you are embracing distinguishes you from the rest, right? It actually, your discipline actually determines what you see and what you don't see, right? Which is also what you alluded to, Instructor Aku, when you said, well, what if you don't see it? What Sister Salama was like, she was seeing situations in a subway and it will cause her to change the direction. Well, what if you don't see it? Or what if it's hidden from you and you have to do what Sister CJ said, you have to feel it. That's why you're given your third eye. You have your physical eyes that sit on either side of your nose, right? And you don't actually see everything. But we've all been in situations where we see something, but it just don't feel right. This shit don't feel right. You know what I'm saying? And it's that third eye, which Instructor North Leg was talking about. That third eye is not sitting on the outside of your face. It's sitting right inside of that brain, and it has the same mechanisms as your eye has, and it's picking up and seeing that which your physical eyes are missing. right? It's picking it up. So you're like, man, I'm seeing something, but there's also something that my physical eyes aren't picking up, that it is, you know, that's being picked up. So it was a good thing to kind of like tease that out and lead us back into visualization and exercising that eye as well. Another thing that I picked up from it is, in power, you know, and I always say it being language sensitive, and us really honing in on how powerful the language is, especially if we are enlivened by it. So I looked up a definition of directional flow. It says concentrated in, following, or producing motion in a particular direction. And then when I read that definition, one of the definitions offered, said, well, before you move in a particular direction, it said concentrated in, it made me think about thought, of what is the direction of thought? How are you thinking about any direction in that you travel in, straight, circular, or just how you're approaching this thing called life? What direction are you taking? And oftentimes we start in one direction in life and end up somewhere else, you know? And it often colors our moving on purpose. And moving on purpose is, you know, the reason for which something is done. What's your objective? Or the intention, going back to intention. And then as you teased it out earlier, Instructor Aku, you said energy goes where attention goes. And then you said there's an intention and a attention. Internally, what are you paying attention to? Attention outside of yourself. Where are you going? Where, you know, where is your thought dictating that you go? These are some very, very powerful language pieces to use in determining your direction. So again, brother, great job with teasing out and making a distinction in the language so that it'll empower us collectively as to where we, you know, want to go, should be going, or traveling.
Thank you, brother.
Again, man, that's great job, man. Proud of you. Just humbled by what you've done, man. And
Thank
what
you,
you continue
instructor.
to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Without question, each and every one of you are helping to shape me and this path we've been on for the last 4, approaching 5 years, specifically dealing in the metaphysical space. You know, it's not until there's nothing like the call of a challenge to tests, and like our ascended brother Master Jawad would say, you know, when you squeeze, you don't know what you got until you squeeze it, and whatever's in there is gonna come out. So this particular question and this particular aspect, it squoze me. And you know, like I say, my instructor, I say who it was, my instructor said yesterday, dropped that bug in my ear. And just as I was walking out the door, he added just a little bit more to the mix. And so I'm just thankful for having been taught so well, and thankful for being supported by such wonderful people and connected to beautiful souls. So I love y'all. Without further ado, you know, we are into our 2.5 hour. Next week we will get on at 8, so we'll be done by, you know, we'll be done by now. So I love you. Everybody, please have a good night. And we've got about 5 hours and 20 minutes to get ourselves prepared to go back in. So rest well, and we'll see you all on the floor. Thank you for your time. Peace. Peace.
Peace and love, family.
Peace and love.
Peace, family.
Peace.
Peace and love, family.
Love, family. Thanks, instructor. Peace and love.
We heard you.
When I hear that shit, it always trip me out. La, 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 la. Ah, oh man, good job again, man.
Thank you, brother. Yes, we're laughing at you. Night, everybody.